Yes, it is the 2023 edition of the XPoNential Music Festival. It's happening in Wiggins Park in Camden, New Jersey. And for the first time since we moved over there, it is only happening in Wiggins Park. Normally we have just across the way at the big outdoor venue, some bigger names. But this year, it's like a love letter to our community. We get to be more intimate and in the space that we love being together and have more of a strong connection between artists and audiences, which is not only my passion, but one of our missions here at XPN. So offering you a chance to see some of the folks you've gotten to know and love over the years, like Teagan and Sara, Old Crow Medicine Show, The Hold Steady, Margot Price, and Sunny Moore, and a lot more. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's my favorite weekend of the year, and I really hope that people can get up there.
For more information, visit xpnfest.org and use code XPNLOVE15 for 15% off any general admission 3-day passes, courtesy of us, Lehigh Valley with Love. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Lehigh Valley with Love podcast. I'm your host, George Wecker, and today we're with the WXPN morning show personality, Kristen Kurtis. Thank you for joining us. Yay!
Oh, George, thank you so much for having me.
So, Kristen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I grew up with a natural attraction to music. It's pretty much the thing that's been most important to me my entire life. Like even dating back to before memories were formed, I was already learning lyrics to every song on B101, which my mom loved listening to. Growing up in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, I became obsessed with No Doubt and scanned the radio dial until I found a station that was playing them, which ended up being Y100. To make a really long story short, one night they played a song that just kind of hit me differently than any other song. It was Shimmer by Fuel. And from Harrisburg, right? So
I've seen them live multiple times. I saw their drummer sing karaoke, believe it or not.
Kevin Miller? No way. That's so much fun. That's right. Kevin was from Allentown originally. Yeah, Kevin's a sweetheart, by the way. But so that song just kind of struck me in this way that kind of mesmerized me, and I became really obsessed with them. Short time after that, they announced they would be doing a Y100 Sonic session, and you had to be caller 13 to get into it. I was 13 years old. I kept being caller number 1. And so I finally emailed in the early day of the internet my favorite DJ there, Leanne Curtis. And I was like, I'm obsessed with this band. Can I please have passes to come to the show? And she asked if she could talk to my mom and answered all of my mom's questions and said, sure, we're going to give you passes. And that ended up being my very first concert. And while I was sitting there on the floor of the Sonic recording studio, I was like, wow, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to help bands who have put the work in and who are deserving to get on the radio. And I want to help people like me who depend on music to soothe and to celebrate and to connect with other people find their soundtrack. So I was like, at 13, I want to work in radio. Their imaging director, Zach, took me under his wing, became friendly with my parents, and started teaching me things about radio before I got to Emerson College in Boston. My graduation present from him was a pair of headphones that lasted me from 2003 until the pandemic, and I was devastated when they died in 2020. I was like, no!
You have to bronze them, save them for posterity.
They're waiting for their processing. That's absolutely what I'm going to do. So I went to Emerson College in Boston to study radio. After a year there, I ended up getting my first full-time job on a top 40 hot AC station in Spokane, Washington.
There's a million radio stations between Boston and Spokane. How does that work out?
Actually, it was somebody that Zach knew, and his friend Boomer reached out to me and was like, hey, we've got this job. What would it take for me to get you to move across the country? And I was like, a job. So I was doing this top 40 hot AC station in the afternoons for a couple years until they needed a music director on their AAA station, which is the format that XPN is, adult album alternative. And once I got promoted there and was doing double duty on both stations, I was able to start going to conventions and meet other people who work in the AAA format, which is how I ended up in Austin, Texas for 4 years, and how I met Bruce Warren. I basically saw him at a convention, made a beeline, and was like, hi, I'm Kristen. I'm from Philly. If you ever have a job, I want it. And he was like, okay. And unbeknownst to me, he waited until there was an opening, which was when my predecessor, Michaela Majoun, decided to step away and focus on her writing in 2015. And I've been back home ever since.
So would your message to people in this industry be shoot your shot?
Yeah, I would say if you want to get into radio, listen to a lot of radio. So, and start to notice things about the way your favorite presenters are talking. Be willing to move to other markets. A lot of times it requires moving to a smaller market and taking a job in a place that you thought you might not ever end up before you can, if you're lucky enough. I feel really lucky to have worked my way back to Philadelphia. Not everybody's so lucky to get to go home.
How is radio kind of different from then to now when you're in it? I mean, I have friends who work in the industry, and I know it's been just different.
New technologies have impacted the way pretty much everything operates, and radio is not immune for that. Spotify was technically released while I was in college. It took a while for it to get to the level that it is right now. But once you had to start contending with, people can hear what they want to hear anytime, you have to start thinking about, like, how do I frame this in a way that, makes radio still have value? And it's the people that you have a connection with, that you're used to. Hi, I wake you up in the morning, and that's a big honor for me to sometimes be the first voice that you're hearing in the morning. But technology between Spotify and podcasting, it's good though. Competition is good. It makes you up your game and think about ways that you can be better so that you can retain your audience, while the possibilities for where they can direct their attention keep getting more and more traction and divided.
For people who are not familiar with the morning show on WXPN, why should we listen?
We have our own flavor. We are focused on music mostly, and we stay away from the gossip. I think that we're more of a family-friendly place where you can hang out and get all the information that you need, without being like bombarded with heavy news from the news stations, and without maybe getting into territory you wouldn't want your kids to hear in the car. It's a nice cross-section of information about what's going on in Philly, what's going on in the world, and what's happening with your favorite artists. So we constantly have music news, general news from my co-host Bob Bombera. We tell you what happened on this day in music history, and then each day we try to have some kind of engaging game or feature. So on Mondays we play the name chain game, which is when you link artists' names together, like Elton John, Mayer, Hawthorne, and we encourage our audience to try to play that game. Tuesdays we do pick one, where we offer you 4 random albums and ask you which you would choose if you could only have one of them. I always like to take a trip back in time on Wednesdays for 90s at 9. The 90s are like back in right now. It's like,
I feel so old. It's like when I hear that music, I'm like, I love this band, and it's oldies now.
It's a quarter.
It's classic rock. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's depressing. So, XPN, clearly you guys are in Philly, but you're up in the Lehigh Valley as well. What are some of your Lehigh Valley faves?
I love being up there. It is a beautiful part of our state. To get ahead of myself, I recently became a little obsessed with the Appalachian Trail, and I would really love to hike that. In the meantime, I recently went up and did the Lost River Cave in Hellertown, which it's the coolest.
I think every Lehigh Valley child is required to go through there, I think.
Well, something else I did, not as a child, like rather recently, because my husband sold it to me as a factory tour. And then when we got to the Crayola experience, I was
yeah.
I was like, we're easily 30 years older than every child in here. We should probably.
It's still fun though, right? Like,
it's very fun.
I've been there by myself when I had to like walk through, and I made like the crayons and stuff. It's a good time.
We made the little car. We did the spin art. It was really fun. It's a cool place. But on the more adult side of things, we also did an event a few years ago before the pandemic at the State Theater in Easton with Lake Street Dive. And what a gorgeous venue. I loved being in there, and I would love to spend more time in the Lehigh Valley. So it's like on my list of day trips now, trying to figure out what more I can do up there.
Well, we're happy to have you, and we hope that you guys come up more, and obviously, encourage everybody to listen to more WXPN and expand their horizons musically, which is what I love about the radio station. We are promoting something though.
Yes, it is the 2023 edition of the XPoNential Music Festival. It's happening in Wiggins Park in Camden, New Jersey. And for the first time since we moved over there, it is only happening in Wiggins Park. Normally we have like just across the way at the big outdoor venue, some bigger names. But this year, it's like a love letter to our community. We get to be more intimate and in the space that we love being together, and have more of a strong connection between artists and audiences, which is not only my passion, but one of our missions here at XPN. So offering you a chance to see some of the folks that you've gotten to know and love over the years, like Teagan and Sara, Old Crow Medicine Show, The Hold Steady, Margot Price, and Sunny Moore, and a lot more. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's my favorite weekend of the year, and I really hope that people can get up there.
For more information, visit xpnfest.org and use code XPNLOVE15 for 15% off any general admission 3-day passes, courtesy of us, Lehigh Valley with Love. So, Kristen, thank you so much for taking out some of your time today. We're looking forward to listening to more of the morning show, and it's great that you're back in Philadelphia.
Oh, thank you so much, George. And maybe the next time I'm up there for the Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway, we can hang out on that together.
You let me know. I know some places. I'm more of a kayaker than a hiker, but I can show you some spots. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure, and we're looking forward to the festival in September. And everybody, go buy your tickets. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, George. Thanks, everybody. Love the Lehigh Valley.
Thank you to our sponsors, WXPN, Molly's Irish Grill and Sports Pub, the Wind Creek Event Center, and Michael Bernardin of Howard Schaefer & Associates with RE/MAX Real Estate. Get more information at lvwithlove.com.